Ladies and gentlemen, the power of inner identity is one of the most vital elements in understanding what makes a person truly special. It is not something handed to us by society, nor is it measured by the applause we receive or the titles we collect. Inner identity is the foundation upon which self-worth is built, and it is cultivated in quiet moments, far from the spotlight. It is the part of ourselves that knows who we are, even when the world forgets to ask. From an early age we are conditioned to seek approval, to chase achievements, to dress a certain way, to sound a certain way, to fit in. But fitting in is not the same as belonging, and belonging cannot exist if you abandon your truest self in the process. The person who is special is not the one who follows the script, but the one who listens to the still, small voice within the one who has the courage to answer the question, "Who am I when no one is looking?" True identity is not something you perform, it is something you embody. It doesn't require decoration, it requires honesty. The strength of inner identity lies in its refusal to be molded by fear or doubt. It says, "I am enough as I am," and it dares to believe that truth in a world that constantly tries to convince us otherwise. It is not built on ego, but on understanding. It knows that being whole does not mean being perfect. It means being present with all parts of yourself, your joy and your sadness, your triumphs and your flaws. The individual who knows their inner identity walks differently, not because they seek to be noticed, but because they carry themselves with purpose. Their confidence does not shout at whispers. It does not need to outshine others. It simply shines quietly but powerfully from within. This kind of self-awareness is not always loud, but it is always felt. It enters a room before words are spoken, because people can sense someone who is grounded in who they are. What makes you special, then, is not your resume, not your social media profile, not the number of friends you have or the number of likes you get. It is your soul's memory of itself, your deep understanding of your own journey, your roots, your values. It is the way you treat others when no one is watching, the way you speak to yourself in your most vulnerable moments. That is the real measure of your identity, and therefore your specialness. There will be moments in life when this identity will be tested, when voices from outside and sometimes inside will try to distort it. Life will offer distractions, illusions, and temptations to become someone else for the sake of safety or success. But your task is not to become what is popular. Your task is to remain who you are, and to grow into that identity with integrity. That is not an easy task, but it is a worthy one. The world does not need more people pretending to be the same. It needs people who are brave enough to be different. People who know their worth so deeply that they cannot be shaken by rejection or swayed by approval. That level of self-knowledge does not come quickly. It is earned through reflection, through struggle, through silence. It is carved out slowly over time, like a river shapes the stone gently but persistently. When you stand in your truth, you give others permission to do the same. That is one of the quiet gifts of inner identity. It liberates not only you, but those around you. You become a mirror for authenticity. You teach by example. You show others that it is possible to live from the inside out, not the outside in. And so, what makes you special is not a list of accomplishments, but the presence you bring into each room, the dignity with which you carry your story, the honesty with which you face your own reflection. It is the resilience that lives in your chest, the love that lives in your actions, the wisdom that lives in your silence. That inner identity, when honored, embraced, and nourished, becomes your compass. It becomes the root from which everything meaningful grows, and once you are rooted, truly rooted in who you are, there is no storm that can uproot you, because your strength no longer depends on the weather, it depends on your truth. Experience is the sculptor of the soul. It shapes you, refines you, humbles you, and strengthens you. While the world may often look to titles, possessions, or status as measures of one's value, the deeper truth is this: your lived experience is your true wealth. It is not what happens to you that makes you special, but what you do with what happens to you. Every joy, every heartbreak, every loss, every triumph, all of it is a chapter in the sacred story of who you are becoming. Too often, people try to separate the good from the bad, the wins from the losses, the light from the dark. But life does not work that way. Growth is not a clean process. It is not linear or predictable. It is messy, aching, and alive. Experience does not ask for your permission. It shows up unannounced, sometimes as a whisper, sometimes as a storm, and it always leaves behind a lesson. You may not understand it at first. You may resist it, curse it, try to forget it. But eventually, if you are willing to listen, you will find that experience was not your enemy, it was your teacher. Some lessons are wrapped in laughter, in celebrations, in moments where you feel invincible. Others are wrapped in grief, heavy, unwelcome, yet essential. The days you thought you would not survive taught you something the easy days could not. They taught you about your strength. They revealed your endurance. They showed you what it means to stand alone and still not fall apart. That wisdom is not found in books. It is found in living, in hurting, in healing, in rising. You are special not because you avoided the fire, but because you walked through it and came out carrying light. Pain is not something to be ashamed of. It is a part of your becoming. When you look back and see the things you thought would break you, and realize they made you softer, stronger, wiser, that is the power of experience. That is its gift. And make no mistake, it is a gift. There is dignity in surviving. There is beauty in remembering. When you speak of your past, not with bitterness, but with clarity, you are showing others that the past does not have to define you, but it can refine you. Each experience adds a layer to your voice, a depth to your perspective. It makes your empathy richer, your compassion deeper. It gives you stories not just to tell, but to teach. That is what makes you different. That is what makes you needed. You cannot be duplicated because no one else has lived exactly what you have. No one else has seen the world through your eyes, cried your tears, carried your burdens, or danced in your joy. That singular collection of experiences makes your insight valuable. It means that when you speak, there is a history in your words. There is life in your silence. There is a reason behind your smile, even when it trembles. Some of your experiences may not be ones you would choose to relive. But even those, perhaps especially, those are woven into your strength. To pretend they never happened would be to erase part of your truth. And your truth is sacred. It deserves to be honored, not hidden. You are not weak because you have wounds. You are wise because you've lived through them. And still, here you are showing up, breathing, becoming. Experience teaches you how to see others more clearly. When you have suffered, you can see suffering in someone else's eyes. When you have loved deeply, you can feel the sorrow in someone else's silence. That kind of knowing cannot be imitated. It is earned, it is lived, and it is one of the greatest sources of human connection. What makes you special is not just that you've had experiences, but that you have let them shape you, rather than destroy you. You carry the fingerprints of every moment that has ever touched you, and instead of hiding them, you wear them as truth. That truth speaks before you do. It walks ahead of you and announces your presence. It says, this one has lived, this one has learned, this one has something to give. So don't diminish what you've been through. Don't dismiss your journey as ordinary. There is no ordinary life. Every breath, every battle, every breakthrough is sacred. Experience does not always feel like a gift in the moment, but with time and reflection, it becomes the root of your strength, the echo of your wisdom, and the melody of your voice. That all of that is what makes you special. Your voice is not simply the sound that leaves your lips. It is the expression of your spirit, the manifestation of your truth, and the instrument through which your soul communicates with the world. Voice is not limited to speaking. It shows up in how you walk into a room, how you write your name, how you love others, and how you carry yourself in silence. What makes you special is the way you express who you are, not by imitating the world, but by interpreting it in a language only you can offer. Every person is born with a voice, not just to speak, but to shape. To shape thought, to shape feeling, to shape the atmosphere. Yet too many people go through life without ever truly using their voice because they've been taught to believe that silence is safer, that conformity is more comfortable, that invisibility is a form of protection. But the truth is, when you silence your voice, you silence your power. And when you diminish your expression, you rob the world of your unique contribution. Expression is not always loud. It doesn't need to be. It can be soft and still carry weight. It can be quiet and still be revolutionary. It may come through song, through art, through teaching, through the way you raise your children, or the way you make a stranger feel seen. What matters is that it is yours, that it comes from a place of honesty, from a well that only you can draw from. Finding your voice is not about volume. It is about vision. It is about knowing what matters to you and being willing to stand for it, even when your knees shake. It is about speaking truth in a room that prefers silence. It is about saying, "This is who I am," and not with arrogance, but with clarity and conviction. It is about refusing to be anyone other than who you were divinely created to be. Your voice is shaped by your experience, carved by your pain, polished by your joy, and empowered by your learning. And every time you choose to use it authentically, courageously, you step closer to your purpose. You show others what it means to be real in a world that often rewards imitation. You give permission for others to speak their truth too. That is not just expression, that is liberation. The world may try to convince you that your voice is too strange, too different, too emotional, too bold, too soft, too much. But those are all signs that your voice matters, that it is striking chords in places that have grown used to silence. Don't let the fear of misunderstanding or rejection push you into hiding. You were not made to shrink. You were made to speak not just with words, but with presence, with passion, with purpose. Some of the most powerful expressions happen in small ways. In a handwritten letter that carries love across distance, in a painting that captures the ache of memory, in a dance that tells a story no words could reach, in a moment of kindness that alters the course of a day. Your voice is not confined to sound. It is any medium through which your spirit says, "Here I am, I exist, I matter." To know what makes you special is to understand that you were not given your voice by accident. It was placed inside you with intention, so you could call things into being, change minds, open hearts, build bridges, or simply remind someone they are not alone. Your expression is your fingerprint on the world. It cannot be duplicated. It cannot be replaced. It is not meant to be compared. It is sacred. When you honor your voice, you honor the ancestors who could not speak freely. You honor the dreams that depend on your boldness. You honor the future that is shaped by the courage of the present. Expression is not just about self, it is about service. It is about creating space for truth to live and breathe and do what it was born to do, transform. So use your voice not just to speak, but to sing, to write, to paint, to lead, to love, to resist, to rejoice, to heal. Let your expression be full, let it be fearless, let it be faithful to who you are. Because the world does not need more noise, it needs more truth, and your truth, spoken and lived through your voice, is what makes you special. There is something sacred about being different, sacred, not strange, not wrong, not less than, To be different is to carry a distinction that the world may not yet understand but desperately needs. The rhythm of your spirit, the angle of your thoughts, the path your life takes, all these are not errors in design, but evidence of divine intention. You are not here to blend in. You are here to be the note that makes the song complete. From the time we are young, we are often trained quietly, subtly to fit in, to follow the rules of sameness, to color within the lines, speak like the others, act like the others, think like the others. But the truth is, no progress was ever made by those who were afraid to stand apart. No history was changed by voices that echoed the crowd. Every bold movement, every new vision, every healing force has come from those who dared to be different. Difference is not a flaw. It is a form of power. It is the fingerprint of uniqueness stamped into your being. And when you reject your difference, you reject the very thing that may be your greatest gift. There is a holiness in walking your own road even when it is lonely. There is a strength in saying, I see things differently, and not apologizing for it. That doesn't mean you are above others. It means you have something to offer that they may not yet see. The sacredness of difference lies in the courage it requires. It takes courage to show up in a world that says, be like them, and still choose to be yourself. It takes courage to carry your full self into spaces that may not be ready, may not be welcoming, may not be kind. But in doing so, you declare something beautiful. That authenticity is more important than approval. Being different may sometimes feel like a burden, but in truth it is a responsibility. You are carrying a light that no one else has been asked to carry. You are holding a mirror for others who are still hiding. You are showing someone somewhere that it is possible to live as you are fully, joyfully, without shame. That is no small act. That is sacred work. The world is made richer by difference. It is made wiser, more compassionate, more creative, more alive. Imagine a garden where every flower looked the same, grew the same, bloomed the same. It would not be a garden, it would be a factory. What makes beauty real is variation. What makes life vibrant is contrast. Your difference brings color to a world that too often settles for gray. Sometimes others will not understand you. They may mock what they do not know. They may fear what they cannot name. But their discomfort does not determine your worth. Do not make yourself smaller to ease their fears. Do not water down your spirit just to be more digestible. The ones who are meant to hear you will understand in time. The ones who are meant to walk with you will find you, not because you conformed, but because you stood. Being different does not mean being alone. There is a quiet fellowship of souls who have also dared to be themselves. And though you may not always see them, they exist in every generation, in every culture, in every corner of the earth. You are part of that lineage, part of that legacy. Part of that sacred rebellion against sameness. Honor what sets you apart, whether it's the way you think, the way you look, the way you create, or the way you feel the world. Those are not errors to be corrected, they are blessings to be embraced. Don't trade your authenticity for acceptance. Don't exchange your uniqueness for comfort. You were not made to fit every mold. You were made to break a few so others could find freedom in the pieces. And if ever you doubt the value of being different, remember this: the stars themselves are set apart. No two are the same. They shine not despite their distance from one another, but because of it. You too were made to shine not by blending in, but by standing in your light. So walk in your difference, speak in it, breathe in it, dance in it. Let it be the hymn your life sings, the anthem your spirit hums, the truth your body remembers. You are different, and that, beloved, is sacred. There is a quiet crown that sits atop the heads of those who have endured. It is not made of gold, not adorned with jewels. It is invisible to the eye, but undeniable to the soul. That crown is resilience, and it is earned, not bestowed. It is the mark of one who has faced storms, stood in the wind, and still chosen to rise. Resilience is not simply surviving, it is rising with dignity, rising with wisdom, rising with love still intact. And when you carry resilience, you are carrying royalty. To be resilient is not to live without pain. It is to be intimate with suffering and still choose not to be defined by it. It is to walk through fire and come out not bitter, but brighter. Resilience is forged in trials, in nights that seem to have no end, in heartbreaks that threaten to silence your song. And yet somehow, from that pain, a new strength is born. A strength that knows it can bend without breaking, that it can cry without giving up, that it can fall and still be worthy of standing again. The world may not always recognize the royalty in resilience. It may overlook the woman who carries the weight of generations on her shoulders. It may dismiss the man who smiles despite loss, or the child who finds laughter in chaos. But do not wait for the world to validate your crown. Wear it because you have earned it, every thread stitched with tears, every jewel set by perseverance, every curve molded by endurance. What makes you special is not just that you've been through something, but that you've chosen to keep going. You have turned pain into purpose, struggle into strength, scars into stories. And that choice, that sacred, stubborn choice, is royal. Not because it makes you better than others, but because it makes you whole. It reminds you that you are not broken by what you've endured, you are built by it. Resilience is not loud, it does not boast, it does not demand attention. It shows up quietly, day after day, breath after breath. It is in the way you get out of bed even when the weight feels unbearable. It is in the way you extend grace to others while healing from wounds of your own. It is in the way you choose to love again, trust again, believe again even after disappointment. That is no small feat, that is royalty. There are those who have never known ease, and yet they carry joy like sunlight. There are those who have lost everything but still manage to give. These are the resilient. These are the kings and queens the world often fails to see, and their power does not come from position or wealth. It comes from within, from a well that suffering tried to dry up but could not, from a fire that life tried to smother but could not. That is a strength no enemy can steal, no storm can wash away. Being resilient is not a denial of struggle. It is an acknowledgement that struggle came but did not win. It is proof that there is something inside you stronger than what tried to break you. Something holy, something ancient, something rooted deep in your bones. Resilience teaches you to walk with grace even when your feet are tired, to speak with hope even when your voice trembles, to keep your back straight even when your heart is heavy. That, beloved, is royal posture. You may not wear robes, but you wear experience. You may not sit on thrones, but you sit in wisdom. You may not hold scepters, but you hold truth. You reign not over others, but over your own destiny. And every time you choose to keep moving forward, you proclaim your power. Resilience is the legacy of those who came before you, those who sang through shackles, who dreamed in deserts, who held on when there was no reason to. It is a song that has been passed down to you to sing in your own way, with your own voice, in your own time. And every time you rise, you are not just rising for yourself. You are rising for all those who could not. You are rising for those who are still learning how. So walk in your strength. Let it shine through your softness. Let it ring in your laughter. Let it echo in your silence. The world may not always see the crown you carry, but your spirit knows. You are not simply surviving. You are reigning with compassion, with courage, with a resilience that is nothing less than royal. Living with purpose is not a privilege reserved for a few. It is a calling planted deep within each soul, waiting for the courage to answer it. You were not simply born to exist, to move through time unnoticed, to fulfill only routines. You were born to matter, to leave fingerprints of meaning on the world, to stretch your hands toward the work only your spirit can accomplish. Purpose is not about fame or recognition. It is about alignment, a sacred clarity, that what you do flows from who you are. And when you begin to live with that intention, you change not only your life, but the lives around you. Purposeful living begins with knowing that your presence is not accidental. Every breath you take has value. Your talents, your passions, even your wounds, they are not random. They are ingredients in the recipe of your purpose. The path to purpose may not always be obvious. It may not come in a flash of light or a thundering voice. Often it arrives as a whisper, a subtle pull towards something greater than comfort, something deeper than pleasure. It is the work that makes you feel most alive, the contribution that feels like love in motion. You may wonder if your life is big enough to make an impact, but purpose is not measured in size, it is measured in sincerity. It is not about doing what the world deems extraordinary. It is about doing what is deeply true. Teaching a child to believe in themselves is purpose. Listening with patience when someone is falling apart is purpose. Creating, healing, planting, nurturing, protecting, these are sacred acts when they are done with intention. No act of purpose is too small. A single thread, when woven with care, strengthens the entire fabric. When you live with purpose, your life becomes a lighthouse. Others may not see every step of your journey, but they feel your light. They feel your steadiness. They feel the peace that comes from someone who knows why they are here. You begin to attract not applause, but alignment. Not admiration, but authenticity. Your days begin to feel less like a race and more like a rhythm, the steady beat of a heart that knows where it belongs. Purpose does not shield you from hardship. If anything, it makes you more vulnerable to the weight of the world. But it also makes you more resilient, because when you know your why, you can endure almost anyhow. Purpose gives you the strength to rise when it's easier to stay down, to speak when silence feels safer, to love when you've been hurt. It becomes your compass, not just pointing you forward, but anchoring you when life shakes. Some people search for purpose like it's a destination, but purpose is not a place you arrive, it is a way of being. It is a lens through which you view your choices. It is the root that steadies you when you grow. It is the fire that fuels your work when no one is watching. And the most powerful thing about purpose is that it evolves. What called to you at one age may transform at another. That is not failure, that is growth. The tree that bends with the seasons survives the storms. Living with purpose is an act of service. It means recognizing that your life is not only your own. You are connected. Your gifts are meant to be shared. Your story is meant to encourage. Your lessons are meant to teach. You may never know the full reach of your actions, but trust that they matter. The kindness you extend today could be the very reason someone decides not to give up. That is the impact of living with meaning. It multiplies quietly. It lingers long after you leave the room. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be present, to be real, to be devoted to something more meaningful than image or approval. Purpose will not always look glamorous. Often, it looks like showing up again and again even when it's hard. It looks like persistence, like compassion, like discipline in the absence of recognition. But when you live this way, something in you expands. You begin to taste fulfillment, not the fleeting kind that comes from applause, but the lasting kind that comes from alignment. So ask yourself, what moves me? What do I carry that the world needs? What do I know in my bones to be true? Let your answers guide you not to perfection, but to presence. And let that presence leave something behind, not just work, not just words, but warmth. A feeling that your life, your purpose, your being made a difference. That, dear soul, is the true impact of purposeful living. And that is what makes you special. Thanks for watching.